Okay, good evening. It's Thursday night. It's 8:30. It's time for this week's Thursday night golf show with myself, the average golfer. And yes, you can see there is no Joey the Tweet again this week, I'm afraid. Now, I know a few people mentioned in last week's show where was the tweet, and I can confirm that unfortunately Joey's left Tioplo, no longer with the company, I'm afraid. So you're going to be left with just myself from now on in. Worth saying on record, just a thank you to Joe for all his hard work and effort. He did a fair bit in the probably 2 years that he was with the company, but he's on to pastures new. So as I say, from now on in, I'm afraid you're just left with the average golfer. Anyway, let's get started. Straight stuck into some world golfing news, and notice with a lot of these stories, it tends to be the same names that feature in a number of weeks in this case, and no bigger name than Tiger Woods, and it's bad luck, I'm afraid, or bad news. You'd have no doubt seen that Tiger Woods has gone in for more surgery, out for another season, and it's pretty sad stuff, to be fair. And you just wonder, we have run this question before, so don't feel obliged to get involved, but I'm going to put it out there one more time. Is Tiger going to play again? We even said, will he win again? And some people thought the answer to that was yes in both instances. I've got to say, last time we featured it, my opinion was that Tiger is finished, and I'm afraid it's even more confirmed that I just cannot see how Tiger Woods can make his way back from this to the top of the game. And playing on the tour again would be one thing, competing on the tour is another, winning is yet another again. So once again, I will, if you are interested in getting involved in that question, will he ever come back to a competitive level? I really don't know. Anyway, moving on from Tiger, more positive note for Bernd Weisberger. He won this year on this week rather, European Tour, the Shenzhen International, and the interesting story on that day was really again another guy who's featured in quite a few of the shows, and Tommy Fleetwood. Now, Tommy Fleetwood has gone from really an absolute fall down the world rankings to, in the last probably 9 months, climbing right back up there. He won earlier on this year. He's been in a bit of form. He shot 63, he was 8 back going into the final day, shot a final round 63 to get into a playoff. Unfortunately, didn't manage to win, but fantastic performance from Tommy. Bernd Weisberger obviously got the win, and the interesting thing for me about Weisberger was his, the tribute that he paid to the clubs he was using. No doubt Titleist will be thrilled with the comments he made, but he suggested how the SureFit CG in the Titleist 917 driver and fairways that he was using was allowing him to drive the ball a lot straighter. So I know that it's often questioned, is the technology and adjustability that's packed into these clubs, I think it's sometimes questioned as whether or not it is purely about a marketing gimmick. But certainly Bernd Weisberger doesn't feel that way, and no doubt he's got a very, very good swing, but he felt that he was loading up the weighting system in, there's a weight channel in the Titleist 917 range, and there's a heck of a lot of adjustability in the club, full stop, but there's a weight channel which allows you to change things significantly, and he'd weighted it with a draw bias, and he claimed that it made a massive difference to him straightening himself up off the tee. So obviously works for Bernd Weisberger, and like I said, a real compliment to the Titleist range. Another one that's a story that rolls on and on is featuring, don't forget, a couple of weeks ago, Lexi Thompson got docked or penalised 4 shots for an error that was spotted in terms of video evidence in the middle of round 4. We had a bit of a debate on that one as to whether or not people thought it was right or wrong, but interesting enough, the RNA and the USGA are looking to propose a rule change, or I think they've implemented a rule change with immediate effect. I'm going to throw this up on the screen as I read it out, because it takes some bit of interpretation, a little bit ambiguous still, and perhaps could have done with being a little bit more cleaner cut in my opinion. But anyway, new decision 34-3/10 implements 2 standards for rules committees to limit the use of video. In case 1, when video reveals evidence that could not reasonably be seen with the naked eye, and in issue 2, when players use their reasonable judgment to determine a specific location when applying the rules. Now, like I say, a little ambiguous, and be interested to know your thoughts and interpretation of the rule. And it amazes me whereby in recent weeks has been a whole thing about changing and simplifying the rules, and maybe I'm just a bit thick, I don't know, but it still leaves a little bit of a grey area for me. They're not saying that they can't still use video evidence, which I think would have been the best thing to just eliminate full stop. But what they're suggesting is, I think maybe, for example, where someone has watched it on TV several times over in a slow motion, and then been able to recognise that as oscillation of a ball or whatever it may be, that would not have been able to have been spotted by a referee with the naked eye, and therefore the rule or the video evidence couldn't have then been used to impact on a ruling. Now again, that's my interpretation of it, and I think that's my criticism of the rules book full stop, is I just wish they'd speak a little bit more clearer English to me so I could understand it. But like I said, maybe it makes perfect sense and that's just me not reading it properly. But that's a new ruling anyway from now on in. Sticking with world news, and more positive news this week concerning Padraig Harrington and Sergio Garcia. Their little tiff has been running on for several years now. It got mentioned again last week after Sergio winning the Masters. Padraig did an interview with Irish radio. Parts of what he said were extracted and into newspapers and suggested that he's not done himself any favours in terms of his potential Ryder Cup captaincy, and he's mentioned that he was at, both him and Garcia attended Rory McIlroy's wedding, both bumped into each other, seemed as though they've had a polite conversation, cleared the air and looked to move forward and concentrate on the positives in life, which is great to hear from them, and no doubt done Padraig a bit of good in terms of his potential to be Ryder Cup captain once again. So interesting, that one. Still with world news, and this is about Justin Rose declaring that he's going to play in this year's Irish Open, which will be held at Portstewart in Northern Ireland. I've actually had the pleasure of playing that one. It's not too far from Royal Portrush, same coastline, just a few miles along. From what I remember, again, brilliant course, but what I remember in particular was the front nine is spectacular, and it'd be great to see how the Tour pros fare against that front nine in particular, like I said. But really pleased that Portstewart have got that. Great that Justin Rose is playing it. He suggested that the Rory McIlroy Foundation has supported the Irish Open the last few years, and I think that additional bit of support has managed to pull in a few favours and ask, can more of the world's top players support and attend the Irish Open? He's done that the last few years, so that's great to see Rory's impact on the game. And for Justin's part, he's suggesting that the idea to play, he's going to play the Irish Open, the Scottish Open, and then the Open Championship itself at Royal Birkdale. I think it's a great way to get warmed up, play some links golf and familiarise himself with, like I said, links terrain, if you like. And it wouldn't surprise me at all this year if Justin's not too far away at the Open Championships as well. Now then, sticking with our last point on world news, and we've put it as last point because it throws up a bit of a question really. You'll have probably seen again, but I'm going to repeat it. Lydia Ko has now, she parted company with a recent caddy and has just appointed what will be a 10th caddy in 3 years. Now she's obviously a young lady with, I'd say, a few issues, because maybe if you've been through one or two caddies, you can blame the caddy, but a relationship situation with a caddy is not a great one by the looks of things. 10 in 3 years suggests there's a couple of issues there. I've read previously that her mother and father have quite a lot of influence in her and a management team, so I just wonder how much involvement they've got and whether or not they should just step back a little. I don't know, that's just an observation from my part. But yeah, 10 caddies in 3 years. But the question is this: when this was mentioned earlier on this week, I thought sort of to myself, well, why do, and you can, this is the question you can help answer. Why do professional golfers have caddies? Why do they have the luxury of a caddy? No one carries my bag for me, and aside from that, nobody assists me with yardages or reading of lines on putts or wherever else it may be. So I just wonder, where did the caddies ever originate from, and why are professionals afforded the privilege? If anything, they should need less help than we do as amateurs. I know as an amateur you can obviously take yourself a caddy round with you, but there's a couple of things really. Is should they be having them, and what impact does it have actually on slow play? Again, I just wonder. They spend, I know in the ladies game when I went to watch the Ladies Open a few years ago at Royal Liverpool, they assist with alignment of putts, even with alignment off the tee, and I know there's going to be a change in the ruling on that one, but again, most pros will enter into quite a long conversation whilst deciding on what iron to play with the caddy, and I just wonder should they be afforded that luxury. And I'd be interested to know your thoughts, see what you think. Not trying to put anybody out of a job. I'm not sure that they'll change the ruling based on my thoughts, but just an interesting one that for me. And also maybe again, how important is a good caddy, because you notice again that the good partnership, so to speak, over the years, where there's been a long sort of player-caddy relationship, have tended, they speak very highly of the partnership itself and how dependent the player becomes on the caddy and the role that they play. So, but like I said, I've never been afforded that luxury, I'm afraid, and maybe the pros shouldn't either. Anyway, that's world news finished. Quick look at some product. We've not been testing any product of late in terms of golf clubs. Nothing really happening in that sense. I'm back at Clark's next week to start testing again. There's some new bits and bobs that we think are coming out. But released by, well, it'll really be distributed under from Cobra. They've released the Arcos 360 performance tracking device. Now again, this featured in a couple of their club, the drivers. This was built into the grip, but you'll have seen no doubt Game Golf, and Arcos is very, very similar, where you'll attach a little almost button-like device into the end of each of your grips. You then have another little device that attaches to your belt, or that's where most people I've seen wear them. They then register the club on the belt and with the butt of the club, play your shot, and what it allows you to do is later on you can analyse distances, direction, sort of your whole performance from tee to green really. And what Arcos is suggesting is Arcos, yeah, that is right. What Arcos is suggesting was it's a great aid, and the players that they've worked with in developing this product have seen huge well, significant reductions in overall handicap, because they've been able to concentrate on the elements of the game which this has identified as being their weaknesses. So yeah, clever piece of kit. It's not something I've used, not used the Game Gear piece of kit either, and we're hoping in the next few weeks to get our hands on this Arcos system and give it some hands-on testing and see what we think. But again, and if you've used Game Golf yourself, then by all means stick some information down below. Has it helped your game at all? Have you been able to focus on areas that it's perhaps identified as being your weaknesses? We'll see. Now then, moving on to, we'll carry on with the theme of weaknesses actually. I played in the Links Golf Salva, as you well know, in Archerfield Links. That was Sunday and Monday of this week just gone. It was a fantastic event, very well organised. I didn't play particularly well on the Sunday, and I played well on the Monday. And the irony of this, when I say didn't play well, I should start again. I didn't score well on Sunday. Ball striking was very, very good on Sunday, didn't score well. Ball striking was probably not as good as I performed on the Sunday, but scored a hell of a lot better on the Monday, and that's the irony of the game we play. But Archerfield was incredibly tough in terms of its setup. You play two courses. I'll throw up a picture now of the Dirleton course was day one. It's literally most fairways aligned with sort of 10-12 foot thick gorse, and if your ball went in, it's a case of reload from the tee. There was no kind of taking relief from an unplayable. You wouldn't find your ball, it was gone. And when the wind picked up with the tightness of the fairways, it was very, very difficult to control your ball. And what I will say, just to give you an idea, over the 2 days, 72 players, not one player in 2 days broke par. It was a Stableford comp, by the way, so not one player exceeded 36 points. And on day one, which is the day that I struggled in terms of points, on day one, only 10 players out of 72 managed to get in excess of 30 points. That tells you how tough it played. But like I said, very, very enjoyable event. I'm not going to go into too much detail at this point about the whole event, because I'm going to do a separate video. I tried to get as much footage as I can to give you a bit of a more in-depth video, and like I said, we'll discuss my performance and what went right and what went wrong in that separate video, which will probably be out early next week, I would think, is when I'll get that one out there. Right, enough of that. We're now moving on to, I mentioned a few weeks ago, and you'll have seen Glencore Golf have been appearing and supporting the channel and the website in a number of ways, and we give away the La Manga giveaway or result a few weeks back, a couple of weeks ago on the show. They've now come up with another prize, which is fantastic, and we're grateful to them for doing that. But we're going to be looking at some more travel content on a more frequent basis, so maybe every couple of weeks we'll get a little bit of a focus on suggestions, and the contents will come directly from Glencore in being able to assist you on the kind of things that maybe you'll be looking for when you're next looking to book a golfing breakaway. I'm going to start with their suggestion of maybe considering exploring up and coming destinations rather than the traditional, let's say, the Villamora, for example, which everybody will know. There tends to be, from what I've read again and the information from Glencore, a lot of people started to take their golfing trips off to Turkey. They've been slightly put off that lately from the sort of situation developing over there in Turkey, and there's been a trend to move back to the familiar resorts of Villamora. So what that has done is impacted heavily on how busy that is, and again, Villamora will be probably, I would assume, being able to dictate and maintain a high price point at that. So maybe, whilst Villamora, a fantastic place to go if you're looking to go there, Glencore is suggesting maybe consider some other up-and-coming venues as well. And so rather than Costa del Sol, Villamora, two obvious places, they're suggesting maybe Costa Dorada or Murcia. Now then, first of all, just looking at a couple of examples, and I'll throw up some images of the courses here. A couple of suggested up-and-coming venues for Costa Dorada: Lumine Golf Course and Bonmont Golf Course. And in Murcia, we've got a suggestion to maybe consider Riquelme and also Mar Menor, which is in Murcia. Again, the suggestion is great quality golfing venues and destinations at a slightly lower price point, so a bit better value for your money. And then in terms of Portugal, again, very much on the same coastline in terms of Villamora, but Marine in Lagos and Tavera, which again, lesser known names in terms of Portugal, but offering some great value. And they're looking at suggesting Quinta do Vale or do Val and Quinta da Ria, which again, excuse me if my pronunciation of them is wrong, but they're the two courses again, or two. They're not courses, are they? They're resorts. They generally have a few courses on each of these. And all of these golf courses, by the way, can be found at tiuplo.co.uk, so you can get all the information you need to find on all these European destinations, or go direct to the Glencore website, and again, there'll be plenty of information on their breaks and stays there. But to kick off this whole thing, Glencore have kindly donated another prize giveaway, and it's to do with Quinta do Vale, or like I said, excuse my my Portuguese isn't what it should be, but it's based in Tavera in the Algarve. 3 nights, 2 rounds of golf for 2 people, and all you have to do, it's a dead simple one, this: subscribe to the channel, and if you do so already, then your name is already in the hat. You can also then go to the website and register for the Tiuplo newsletter, which is a weekly golfing newsletter, all the things we discuss on it and plenty more as well, straight to your inbox. Now again, if you register for that and also subscribe, you double your chance of winning. So as many email addresses you have, then put them in, because it effectively gives you additional entries into this competition. So there you go, that's that one. The other thing we're going to look at is developing some system where we're going to give away some vouchers in the future when you register and leave 5 reviews. At the moment we give away some golf balls, we're going to give us some vouchers from Glencore as well, and that'll assist in encouraging you to maybe to go and have a look at their website and make some potential bookings for your future golf breaks. But anyway, thanks to Glencore for the prize giveaway. Don't forget, get your name entered in the ways I've just mentioned and get yourself in the draw. Anyway, that's enough. That is the end of Thursday Night Golf Show for yet another week. In a week's ahead, tomorrow morning, I will be at, well, it's a Trafford Centre. It's Event City, and it's the American Golf Show. So if you see you there, then by all means pop over and say hello. Next week, back at Clark's doing some club testing, and the following week we go out to meet with one of the supporters of the channel, and I'm playing a game of golf not too far away from where I'm sat right now, in Eastham Golf Club on the Wirral. So we'll be having a bit of fun there with the camera out, maybe do a few man versus golf hole challenges, so look forward to that. Anyway, enough from me. As ever, thank you for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon on Upload TV.